Were you involved in the creative freedom side of GamerGate?
Not as not as much. Like by the time that you started seeing those kind of things starting to sprout up, like I was running out of steam to be in GamerGate because it was tiring to be in GamerGate constantly and hearing Sargon waffle on and all this other people. I was getting to the point like, okay, we're treading water here at this point. As much as I would love to see something change, I don't think any movement's going to change anything because again, I just saw the writing on the wall. We did not have like a big enough monetary base because as loud as we were in all of gaming, we were just one small little room in all of gaming, right? All of Gamergate was just one small little room, and like the real money of Gamergate was outside in the normie crowd, and they didn't really give a shit. They just kind of rolled their eyes when the press made their declaration games were over. Said, "Yeah, whatever. I heard that years ago. Fuck off," and they just moved on with their lives. That small little room was where we all sat, and when I actually got a good concept of that, I'm like, well, we're fucked. We're we're really fucked. I just kind of threw in the towel at that point.
Do you think that creative freedom stuff should have been brought into the GamerGate movement, or do you think that it should have been kept just about ethics?
Honestly, like I think the more things you bring into any kind of movement, the worse it's going to be. Like I said, I brought up the Wall Street protests, right? Occupy Wall Street had a singular message, right? But then as they started to bring in more concerns, it just fell apart because everyone was doing their own thing at that point. So it's kind of hard to say because at the same time, like it's it's an issue that I want to see brought up, and it was somewhat related to the fact that GamerGate supporters were being censored at that point in time too, and were being shoved out and being silenced and not being allowed to be in communities and whatnot. So I don't think there's any other way it could have happened, honestly, because it became so intertwined with being a part of Gamergate to see that we're getting muted and banned and all this kind of stuff and shadow ban and shit. And it's like, okay, I mean, we kind of have to talk about it. We kind of have to talk about it because we can't get our message out because we're being silenced.
Some critics argue that GamerGate was mostly or entirely right wing. Do you think that is accurate?
I'm left wing, so no, no, it wasn't. Like there was people from all across the political spectrum. I think the loudest, like the ones that ran some of it, were probably more right wing, just because they just didn't give a shit about anything, and so they probably were a little more right wing. Just and it's been kind of played out in their actions since Gamergate. Um, I think some of them were definitely more right wing because I like the Ralph retort and
Well,
Sargon and there's so many, but I think the loudest ones wound up being that right wing edge of things. And I many people have said, "Oh, Gamergate led people down the right wing pipeline." It's like, no, no. I mean, it may have convinced a few people to go further right, but it was just a natural thing to have right wing come in because most of Anna Gamergate was all left wing, right? Most of the biggest proponents of anti Gamergate were all left wing, so which is kind of natural that their buddies from the right wing would come in and start saying shit.
have your politics changed since GamerGate or because of GamerGate?
No, I've pretty much always been like left of center. I'm not far left wing, but I've always been left of center, and I'm for human rights and fair treatment and freedom, and you know I'm not at all conservative. Never have been really. Like I've always had kind of the same politics. I guess I'm just too old to give a shit about changing at this point.
Some people say that GamerGate was the first battle of the culture war. Do you have any thoughts on that framing?
The culture war is a stupid thing. But I would say, yeah, sadly, it was really one of the first really big. I mean, there's probably stuff before that, but none of it really stirred up as much of a controversy as Gamergate. And it's the reason why the left still uses a touchstone today to talk about, oh, that Gamergate did all this and Gamergate did all that. It was the first big thing that kind of sadly defined the generation of people and what their politics were. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, we don't have wars anymore in North America. And the last big polarizing thing that happened was 9/11. And I mean, that was kind of an easy thing for everyone to get on the side with. You know, we don't really like people blowing up people on our soil. You know, I mean, it's kind of an easy ask for everyone to get on the side with that. Um, but this was like the first thing that really was polarizing and divisive. And there's a reason why everything's been called X Gate since then and reference back to Gamergate. There's been Comics Gate. There's been a few other gates too. It gets tiring to keep track of them all. But yeah, I think it was one of the big first things of the culture war that we that we got to see, and it's just tiring to think about. It's just like you don't understand. All we wanted to do was just we wanted some basic respect, you know, and some basic ethics. Nothing big, nothing huge. And y'all have to make it about how we're racist, Nazi, sexist, transphobic, hateful, everything. You had to go all that way for that. And it's like you don't even know any of us, really. You just see a mob and you're just like, meh, you're all horrible because you don't like what I like.
What do you think of the framing of Gamergate as a battle within the left between those who believe in small L liberal democratic values and those who don't?
I mean, they were very much the press is very much in like most of Hollywood, most of California is very very extreme left leaning, right? Like they don't use the term homeless anymore. They say unhoused. Like how stupid is that? You can't even and now like the new big thing is they're making retarded the R word. Retarded the R word. You know, it's just because they can't they just have this feeling that they cannot ever possibly potentially offend anyone. And so when you have a bunch of gamers who are angry and upset, and you can hear I use colorful language all of the time, and you know, we're talking and saying you're all full of shit and you should probably not talk about this kind of stuff. They kind of come in saying, you guys are big meanie poo poo heads that are being mean to my friends. And yeah, it became kind of a war against the left side of the spectrum, the far left side. Now, it wasn't just right on this side. It was right and center and left, just not the extreme left. You know,
Well, there
and
were
it
a lot of
was
far left people too, but
yeah. Well,
who
there was
supported
a few
Gamergate.
far left. There was a few far left that I knew about. I didn't know how many, but honestly,
But
I
not
just think
they were far left usually on economics, not
yeah,
on
yeah,
social
they're
justice warrior stuff.
yeah, they're libertarian on economics. They're not talking about
Well,
like
libertarian means something like
yeah.
I wouldn't say libertarian on
Well,
economics.
yeah.
Like
Excuse
unconfidence
me.
was like a communist. Like he was like a
Yeah,
legit commie.
yeah, socialist. There you go. There you got more socialists that I should say. You know, um, but yeah, like
Libertarian left.
yeah, yeah, they're far out there, and yeah,
Well,
there may have
most
been a
of us
few,
were
but
libertarian left, I think,
yeah, for the
or
most part, like
moderate.
I was moderate. I was one of the moderates. I wasn't way out there, and it's just that most of the most of our soy drinking compatriots over on the California side of thing or what we're at war with, and like, yeah, I'm sorry, like your political views were far far left in every respect of the word, and so it's like, yeah, it kind of was. It wasn't intended on being. It just that's the way it worked out because that was the politics of those that were there, and they are very much a community. I mean, you can see when creators leave California, suddenly they start talking very different. Like one of the like great touchstones of this is MatPat, right? MatPat was in California for a long time.
I have no idea who that is, by the way, but
Matthew Patrick,
yeah,
you do
no.
not know who yeah, it's a theory, a game theory. You do not know game theory.
Oh, is he like a YouTuber or something?
Oh my god. Yes, he is. He's also a fucking huge meme. Wow. See, this is what surprises me. The internet is such a small place, but sometimes so large. You did not know anything about Matthew Patrick.
I know, I do.
Anyways,
He wasn't like a big deal in my world at all in any way, shape, or form. So
he's just a living meme in gaming culture. Yeah, he's the one that said Sans and oh god, it was a character from there's a character from oh shit, Earthbound. Sans and Ness are the same person. He like that's fucking. He's one of the Finance at Freddy's theories and all this kind of shit. Anyways, he was out west for quite some time and finally moved back east. And when he did, suddenly his live streams got a lot more liberating. Like he seemed to talk more about stuff as opposed to being so politically correct constantly. And so I'm like, hey, yeah. See, once you're away from that whole hive mind center that is California, you stop saying things like unhoused and you start saying homeless again because it's homeless. There's no reason to call them unhoused. That's stupid and it sounds stupid and you're stupid for saying it.
you say you don't care about the culture war stuff, but it seems like you talk a lot about it. You talk about the California people. You talk about our soy drinking compatriots. You talk about forced
Yeah,
diversity.
yeah, I hate all of it. I hate the fact that I have to mention any of it, but it's there. I don't deny reality. That's why I roll my eyes saying it's a culture war. Because unfortunately, for some bizarre fucking reason, that's what they've made it. And I don't know why. I still to this day do not understand why the people of California, which primarily what it is, it seems to be primarily out there. And I know this because personal family members have gone out there and started talking that way. And when they came back, suddenly they kind of dropped those values again and started talking like a normal person again. I don't know if it's in the water, in the air. I don't know if it's just something that you have to do, otherwise you'll be run out of town on a rail. I don't fucking know. But for some reason, the moment you enter California and live there for any length of time, it becomes a culture war with the rest of the fucking country for reasons I have yet to understand. Just because you like these certain things and talk about these certain things, you think the entire nation has to talk about those same things and in the same way with your same values. I don't fucking get it. I'm of the mindset that you love what you want to love, you enjoy what you want to enjoy, and leave people the fuck alone to do the same.